This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Thursday, August 25th, 2022. We're so glad you can join us. In today's episode of Ag Matters PM, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan about this week's U.S. Drought Monitor and the conditions for Iowa. We also have a look at that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're at the end of another trading day here for this Thursday, and for a bit of analysis, we go to Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. Kaden, what do we see in the grain markets today?
Yeah, a little bit quieter than we started the week out at. Pro Farmer Tour got the market pretty excited early on, and now we've done a bit of backtracking. Corn started out higher first thing and then sold off as the day went on. And if you're a bull, you're not going to like the close very much. Corn settled down close to 7 cents, and beans even worse, down about 27, and wheat similar, down mid-20s. So definitely kind of a day where we gave back some of what we've put on this week, but I guess kind of to be expected after we put on so much so fast on Monday and Tuesday.
Right, and I heard today was kind of a profit-taking day. Are we going to see maybe quite a bit of that as we get towards the end of this marketing year?
Yeah, I think you could, and especially this week. Tomorrow is Friday's option expiration for September options, so got definitely some profit-taking there, and sometimes after option expiration, the following week is kind of when some fireworks come back into the market. So I guess I'm looking for a fairly quiet trading day again tomorrow. Probably not too much volatility, and then next week we'll kind of see where things start shaking out again.
Right, and with that crop tour, they went through South Dakota and everything, and it was just not great there. There's really not a lot going on. They got to Iowa and kind of Illinois and the Midwest, and they saw maybe some more promising numbers, but we're still pretty much net down on yield expectations, right?
That's right, yeah. And most of the tour numbers from this year compared to last year, almost all of them are down, and that was to be expected somewhat. In my opinion, the trade was trading maybe more like a 174 yield before this week, and I think you saw the trade take out 1 or 2 bushels there pretty quickly, maybe down like a 172. But there's good corn out there. If you look at a drought map and kind of compare it to the map that the tour went on, they kind of were going right through some of the worst areas, which is not anybody's fault other than just the way it worked out. But there's good corn out there. Some people are claiming sub 170 after this week. Don't know if we're quite there yet. Not saying we won't get there, but I think that's a little bit hasty.
Now, last year, we saw some issues pretty early on, and we weren't sure of how good of a crop we'd get. And then it turned out to be a pretty decent crop. Is this year any different from that, or are we seeing more or less struggles? What's the story there?
Yeah, every year's got some similarities, some differences. I think the thing that sticks out this year that people are most worried about was that real hot spell that we had going into the 4th of July. It was just super hot for almost a month without much rain. And then obviously, a lot of the Western belt got pretty dry here again in the last month. So I think before, in early mid-July, the hope was that Iowa and Illinois could kind of sustain the rest of the Corn Belt and keep that yield up around 177. Then Iowa obviously turned off pretty hot and dry and kind of nixed the hopes of that. So like I said, I think there's still some good corn out there, but the chances of getting back to 177 like we did last year are pretty slim.
All right, and what do we see on the other side of the marketplace in the livestock complex?
Yeah, so the last week's been pretty rough for the hog market, and finally found a little bit of a footing today. Meanwhile, cattle are starting to roll over of their own. Kind of seems like they've been following hogs over the course of the summer. So maybe some more selling coming in for the cattle market. As far as hogs go, we still have not quite filled the gap on October. That gap's open at 89.75 and got real close today, but didn't quite fill it, and then kind of had a reversal turnaround. So I expect that gap to be filled before I start feeling too strongly about hogs rallying back up again. But boy, you would think after the beating they've taken that we ought to be getting close to some type of short-term support.
Of course, we're still, I guess, getting to the end of grilling season and kind of that high demand period. But we probably only have, maybe a couple weeks left, especially as we get to Labor Day weekend. Are we going to start seeing demand for meat kind of taper off a little bit?
I think you will see some demand taper off, and I also think that's somewhat expected. And to add on to that, I kind of like to look at livestock from a technical standpoint every bit as much as a fundamental, if not more. And for the last month or two, if you're looking at the cattle complex, they've been rallying with the 20-day moving average. The 20-day has been their support, and I kind of felt like that as that 20-day held, you could feel okay about the cattle market. But then here, just the last couple days, feeders broke it, and today fats broke it. And I think as you start to break that 20 days, when you start to see some cracks in the armor of the cattle market, and it can bring on some concerns. So yeah, I agree with you both fundamentally and technically. I think there's certainly some caution warranted for the cattle market.
All right, Kaden. Well, lots of great information today. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
Yeah, pretty sweet that the website's in the name. So just go to agmarket.net and you can sign up for a free trial of our research for 1 month, no strings attached. Or you can find my contact information on there as well. My direct number is 815-691-2672.
All right, Kaden. Well, it was great talking with you today, and we look forward to hearing from you again soon.
Yes, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
That again was Kaden Sweeney of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. September corn is down 8 1/4 at 657 1/2. December corn down 7 1/4 at 650 even. September soybeans down 8 1/4 at 1552 1/2. November soybeans down 25 3/4 at 1431 1/4. Soybean meal down 14.10 at 418.70. Soy oil down 6 cents at 66.74. Chicago wheat is down 25 1/4 at 769 3/4. Minneapolis spring wheat down 25 even at 882 3/4. Kansas City hard red wheat down 27 1/4 at 869 even. And September oats down 9 even at 415 even. On the Merc, August live cattle down 22 at 141.10. August feeders up 65 at 181.87. October lean hogs up 72 at 91.10. Pork cutout up 47 at 101.82. And Class 3 milk up a nickel at 20.11. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, we're here with another chat with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. Obviously, we have some more U.S. drought monitors that came out. So, Justin, let's go ahead and talk about the one that came out for this week.
So basically, if we look at the map, it's status quo. We had a little bit of improvement across southwestern Iowa, where we've seen heavier rainfall totals. But with these cooler than average temperatures over the last 7 days, along with widespread precipitation now, albeit below average precipitation, was just enough to hold the map steady. Now, we are seeing drier conditions in southern Iowa, and if we don't see more rainfall and as our temperatures warm up, we could see further degradation across southern Iowa in the next several iterations of the drought monitor depiction.
Right, and was the southern tiers of Iowa, were they in a drought level yet, or were they in that pre-drought distinction?
Yes, so that pre-drought distinction is that D0, abnormally dry conditions. We see that across basically the southern tier of counties along the Iowa-Missouri border. Then you move further north and you're in that D1 to D2 designation. And we've seen that expand over the last 3 weeks, basically.
Right, and of course, Northwest Iowa has been taking it pretty hard on the chin as well. I talked with Congressman Feenstra on Saturday, this past Saturday, and he said with the rain that everybody else got, they got about half an inch, so they could still use a lot more up there, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. That rain's going to help the soybeans that haven't burned up. Corn, we've got farmers up that way chopping silage already. So very dry conditions. That's where we have that D3 category across several counties. Now we have seen some improvement up in that D3 region, given some heavier rainfalls over the last 2 weeks. But overall, northwestern Iowa, if we go back 2 to 2.5 years, we're still seeing precipitation deficits on the order of 15 to 25 inches. So it would take very many months of above average precipitation to really start to improve those longer term drought conditions that we see up that way.
Right, of course, and thinking of those rain events, we had a pretty good rain event last Friday with the kind of just heavy rainfalls that came through mostly central Iowa and a bit through southwest and the southern tiers as well. What came from that storm? How much did that help out?
Yeah, that was an interesting low pressure system. That's kind of a low pressure system that we would see later in fall or in spring, a widespread low pressure system that spun in several rounds of showers and thunderstorms. Now, if you were at the fair on Friday, a thunderstorm popped up right over the Des Moines metro within 5 to 10 minutes of in going severe. We had anywhere from golf ball to tennis ball size hail in some of the western suburbs of Des Moines. Heavy rain over at the fairgrounds, not a lot of hail, but overall widespread rainfall across the state, but pockets of slightly above average totals. In fact, my rain gauge in Des Moines had about 2.6 inches over that 24-hour period. So heavy rainfall across parts of the state. And then the parts of the state that really need good totals to hold on the crop through harvest are not really receiving it. And that's just what we're stuck in, a pattern in which the rain is going where we don't need it. Those cooler temperatures have been a silver lining. They have cut down on some of the atmospheric demand and some moisture stress. So overall, that's, again, we go back to the drought map. We haven't really seen any real movement in either way, degradation or improvement.
Right, and something interesting that's, we've been following the crop tour as they go around, and as they went through kind of northwest Iowa, they said that things certainly weren't amazing up there, but things weren't looking as bad as they thought. And while the corn did look a little stunted, the corn that was there was real good. And I'm kind of curious, with the late planting that we had, did that kind of help us avoid some of the worst that we could have seen?
Yeah, so April was cool and wet. Now, it's almost better to plant in drier soils because it forces those corn roots deeper. And when we do get into periods in which we are dry for an extended time period, the corn is able to access deeper soil moisture. We saw the same thing last year. We actually were planted early or near average last year, but we had periods of extended dryness, and we saw drought across much of the northern two-thirds of the state. We had those hanger-on rains, those $1 million rainfall right when we needed them last year, and we had a great harvest in terms of yields last year, given how dry things were. We're seeing the same conditions this year. We've had those timely rainfalls that have held the crop on. And given that delayed planting that we've seen, we did catch up with those growing degree day units in May and June. But that buffer that we had has saved some of the crop and the drier parts of the state. So again, those cooler temperatures and the rainfalls that we've seen recently have done a better job of holding the crop on in these drier periods that we've seen.
Right, and as we get closer and closer to that crucial part of the harvest season and just into harvest itself, sometimes USDA numbers aren't exactly incredibly accurate to what we're seeing compared to if you just look at it yourself. So what are you thinking this crop's going to look like, just looking through your crystal ball the best you can?
A crystal ball, yes. So yeah, as in last year, we were pessimistic in terms of the conditions that we were seeing on the ground in terms of precipitation and those warmer temperatures. But again, we saw those rainfalls right when we needed them. pollination, pod fill on soybeans, grain fill on corn. So these cooler temperatures, along with these widely scattered showers and thunderstorms that we've seen, in my field tours, the crop has looked better than what the precipitation deficits would suggest and what our modeling has suggested. So if we see these cooler temperatures and the rainfall that we are expecting through the end of August, I think things could look good like last year. We have knocked down some of the top line yields given the weather conditions that we've gone through. But overall, I'm optimistic in terms of what we'll see in harvest.
All right, Justin. Well, I know you're always looking for input from farmers and discussion there. So how can they get a hold of you to just kind of discuss crop conditions?
Yeah, a few ways. Go onto Google and Google Iowa Climatology Bureau. It'll give you my contact information, along with all kinds of weather and climate information, Drought Monitor, climatological outlooks. My direct line is 515-281-8981. And my email address is justin.glisan, Glisan, at Iowa Agriculture, all one word, .gov.
All right. Well, it was great talking with you today, Justin, and we look forward to catching up with you again soon.
Great, Riley. Always nice to talk with you.
All right. We got it. Thank you very much, Justin.
Perfect. All right. We'll see you.
Yep. Have a good one.
Take care. You too.
Yep. Bye. That again was Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. Well, speaking of the weather, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Today has been a beautiful day outside, kind of an atypical summer day, as in it's usually pretty hot around now, but we've had some nice temperatures. A bit of showers across the state, depending on where you are. Now, we could see some of those showers pick up again this weekend, so let's go ahead and take a look at what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, we should still see some pretty nice weather. Today we'll have variably cloudy skies across much of the state with chances for isolated thunderstorms, highs ranging from the upper 70s to upper 80s. Tonight we'll have lingering clouds and showers that will push their way out of Iowa, then it'll be mostly clear. Lows ranging from the mid-50s to mid-60s. Tomorrow expect patchy fog to start the day, then it'll be mostly sunny. Highs range from the upper 70s to mid-80s. Taking a look at the affiliate weather map, as you can see for tomorrow, Cherokee will be sunny with a high of 81, Shenandoah mostly sunny and a high of 84, Des Moines sunny and 84, Albia sunny and 84 as well, Waterloo sunny and 81, and Clinton sunny and 79. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. And that's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. And you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AM/PM on our YouTube channel. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free Twice Daily Market podcasts on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IARN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.